Hi guys, it's Bianca again. So I've noticed lately that everybody is doing a sketchbook tour. So I decided I would do one of my own. The difference is that this is actually a very old sketchbook. This is my first one from when I actually took classes for art. And one of the things that I've noticed that's missing from most other artists' sketchbook tours is a drastic growth. And I think that's important and encouraging for other artists who are beginning in the field to see where, you know, other artists had started from. And I thought that this was actually a really good example of that because I was not the best starting out. I was good at certain things, but not everything. And so I had to grow and learn. And I think that that makes for something important to show. So let's get started. Obviously, here's my front cover. Him has been and always will be my favorite band, despite the fact that they are now breaking up. They got me through high school. So let me get this in the shot. So this is the front page. At the time, it was the Summer Olympics, and this is, what's his name? Ian Thorpe. He's an Australian swimmer, and I really, really had a thing for him. And then quotes and things I used to like. And all this stuff is really old and outdated, so it doesn't really matter if it's on there anyway. And then here was, I think we had to do ideas. Yeah, this was 2004, so I was already a junior here, I think. Yeah, that was October. So yeah, I was a junior in high school. And then we had to come up with ideas for how to show aging. And here you can see it's smudged a bit, unfortunately, because it's pencil and I didn't have fix-it at the time, so, and I was rubbing against this page, but oh well. Anyway, so you can see how badly drawn these were for the time, and just my ideas of how I was, you know, trying to go about it. And so here is the actual executed thing. This is for, I think this was for my advanced placement painting and drawing class. I had two classes in the same year. AP Art and Advanced Painting and Drawing. So here were the executed pieces. You can see here my writing about what the idea was and the concept behind it, what kind of techniques I used. Obviously these are done with Crayola crayons, and I was not happy with the end result. I can't draw hands still to this day. I really do need to practice, but this gives you a nice idea of, you know, where I started. And I basically just threw lots of color on, tried different positions, movements, so on and so forth. And I wasn't happy with it at all, but there you go. And then here we had to just, you know, doodle. We had to basically fill pages. I think I had 10 pages I had to fill every week as my requirement. And so I would just doodle things that I liked and whatever. This was actually a still life of a statue that I had painted and that I was going to use later. I did this one in chalk pastel. This one is just a normal pastel, oil pastels. This is watercolor, and then again chalk pastel. So it was just experimenting, basically. I like this mosaic effect, so I stuck it in. Here was a picture of Ian Thorpe, but again, it wasn't very good. The reference that I used, I don't know if I put it in here. No, I didn't. But yeah, I just doodled it. I didn't really care all that much. It was September, I think. Yeah, September 17th, because this is the American style of writing, so it's month, day, year. That changes when I move to Europe and my other sketchbooks. But anyway, here you go. So there was my really bad face of Ian Thorpe with pencil. Very quick sketch, just the full pages. And then here were things I had printed out because I liked them and they were inspiration to me, like Corinne Hartley. This is Madame Poisson, John Singer Sargent, and John Singer Sargent again, and other ones. I have them listed here, but I'm not going to hunt for them. But anyway, so these were different things that I found inspiring. And then, of course, there's my quick evaluation of research choices. We always had to discuss why we did things, and so that's why that's there. And this was actually, I think, this wasn't my first, but this is probably my second attempt at stippling. Obviously, the proportions on this thing are all wrong. She has a monster jawline and the thickest neck ever, and like small head, but it just gives you an idea that this is how my process went at the time. And we all have to start somewhere and learn something, but I learned to love stippling. This was done with a Precise V5 marker, or Precise V5 pen, and that's why it feathers out a little bit. It wasn't a very precise dot, but I didn't really care. I was just experimenting anyway. And here again is Ian Thorpe. I think I was trying to do that, but it didn't come out. Anyway, so whenever you see Thompson, that was the art teacher at the time, Mr. Thompson. And here you can see my grade for the first month or whatever it was. It was an A, so it was good. And again, I was trying out stippling. And then here, messing around with chalk pastel. Again, my figures and everything are completely non-proportional, but I was just basically more interested in the chalk pastel than I was in getting the figurines right, or the figures right. So that was just an experiment, and I finally had some fixative, so I sprayed it on there, but it still managed to smudge. This one is watercolor. Again, the character is completely like wrong in every possible way, and I hate it. But again, it was just experimenting and filling pages. Another one for chalk pastel. Again, I didn't like it. I just filled pages. And here I talk about my process, and here again is that same statue, because this came later. I think I had to do an actual piece on this. I don't know where that is now. And then here you'll see there's little comments and stuff from my teacher. Not good with composition or handling the medium, because I would talk about things like I love charcoal, but I'm not very good with compositions. And so then he would, he would leave notes everywhere, talking about what I did and so on and so forth. And he used to read some of my comments, and he would leave joking messages and stuff like that. Because I would also basically use this as a way to just express myself. I would have verbal diarrhea. And I think most people use that in their sketchbooks anyway, so. But here, there's you'll see lots of song lyrics and stuff in here. This is from a hymn song. Now this one is Mary Cassatt's Lydia leaning on her arms. And then this was my recreation of it. And I was very happy with how it turned out. It's not perfect by any means, but I made it mine. And that was the main thing for me. I was happy with the proportions of her and everything, even though her face looks a little bit messed up. For me, just managing to do that in chalk pastel was a huge deal. So I was very happy with that, and I spoke about everything here. And I do recommend that if you're not already doing it, talk about your work in the sketchbook. That's something the art teacher, Mr. Thompson, taught us in high school, that you should talk about your process and it might help you with ideas. So now we had to talk about our concentration. This was for AP art. And my concentration was geishas. And I was here talking about ideas that I had for them and starting to doodle. This was not a geisha, this was just something I did, just because. And he was commenting that it's good to get that out early because at the end of the year we had to turn in a portfolio with our works. So here are just some more doodles. This was actually from a reference from one of the magazines in class. Didn't turn out anything like what the original was, but I didn't really care. Again, filling pages. And then just, quick sketches of things. Here I was trying to get proportions better, but of course I do these, in the beginning I used to have these monster jaw lines on my characters, and I have no idea why. I think I'm a little bit in the shade here. Let me check. See if I can get it more into the light. There we go. That might be a little bit better for you guys. All right. So here we have, I started to paste in inspiration and ideas so I could figure out how to do geishas, from the decorations, the umbrellas, the makeup, the clothing, so on and so forth. Here we go. This is the piece that, the final piece I did based on the still life in chalk pastel of the little statue. And I got an A for that. So that was cool. I wasn't too happy with the end result, but it worked. And here, just other things for other ideas that I had. So here I had the ballerina that I saw in the magazine, and then the picture of the horse. I wanted to somehow combine them in a overlapping image so that it's like the grace of dance. But I never ended up doing that one. But it was just an idea, and that was the main point, was to get ideas out. Here I was practicing with charcoal. You're going to see lots of pregnant ladies because, I don't know why, but I loved pregnant ladies at the time. This was a Degas image, and I tried to recreate it. But I don't think I have the reference in here. But anyway, it's one of Degas' figures. So I was just practicing with that. This was another one that I printed out. I don't know who the artist was or if the artist was mentioned anywhere, but anyway, I thought it was really pretty. And the use of chalk pastel was really cool. And then here are some body studies from, I think, the figure book that we had in our art class. They were just a bunch of nude studies that you could use for reference. And then here, this was from A Streetcar Named Desire. I don't remember what version from what year, but I tried. This was done with India ink and dip pens, and no pencil beforehand, which was probably a big mistake. But I was trying to see if I could just draw without pencil. Here again is some more of that ballet thing. I'm so disappointed I don't have the artist's information here for that, because that was really good. And I'm normally very much a stickler about giving credit to the original artist. But here again I was practicing, especially with leg shape and hands, because I love them. These again were from Degas, and I made my own versions of them. And then here my teacher, Mr. Thompson, actually said, do some observation drawing too. Don't just copy images and photos. And that was a major thing, because I didn't really have models to work from. So I was just basically, you know, trying to recreate pictures from other artists or from photographs. And here again, just a sketch in Indian ink. So as you can see, I wasn't very good. But suddenly here we have a turn in my art career, as we say, because I started to draw from life. And these actually ended up looking like the people, even though this is from behind and this is only from the side, like the people that I was drawing. And that's when my art teacher said these are good, because he even recognized who they were, so that was good. And then here, this was just another recreation. Still, you know, slowly getting better, still not proportional and everything, but learning as I go. This was my own face. I was using a mirror and then trying to draw myself. This is my nasty foot. This is my friend Gretel, my mom, and my art teacher was very happy with that. This was experimenting. There was salt in that one, and then this was just acrylic. And then again, this was here using salt in the watercolor to see how it looked, and just more doodles. This is my buddy Brock, who was in the class with me. He moved, so the picture didn't really turn out that great, but here we're just practicing with charcoal pencils. And on this side, yeah, and this side was just, again with the Precise V5, just doodling and making notes and stuff. This was my German teacher, but again I couldn't get the angle right. And then just other random doodles. Most of the ones that look weird are usually the ones from my head. This was my friend at the time, Alicia. I drew mushrooms on her butt in art class. I don't know why, but we did it. And Idea, Goods talked to me about this, about the geishas here. So instead of posting a sticky note, he just put a note directly into my art book. So now it's immortal. Thanks, Thompson. But yeah, I didn't really mind. And yeah, so here we have, again, the concept of pregnancy. I wanted to incorporate it with the geishas from my final concentration. This was supposed to be my buddy Amanda. And again, just practicing with chalk or charcoal pencils. And then again, trying to do more life drawing here. This is my friend Alicia. She was working on a big canvas. Dory, a girl in my second period art class. And then girl in humanities, but she kept moving, so of course nothing worked out. This was actually a teacher I really despised. He was just, I couldn't stand him. He was so full of himself. And it's very rare for me to dislike a teacher that much, but he was just terrible. I'm not even going to say anything more about him, but yeah, it was a class that I really disliked, and he was very full of himself, and just, if you didn't understand something, he looked at you like you were a complete idiot instead of teaching you. So yeah, he wasn't fun. And another life drawing. I like these. I like this one especially. So I think she knew I was drawing her, so she sat very still. Because people are always flattered when you want to draw them, especially in an art class. This is my friend Heather. I made her bottom lip way too pouty. And then again was just stippling and doodling with stuff. And all of these are just from my head. I'm weird, obviously. And yeah, so this was something that was inspired by something I saw in National Geographic, and then I just made my own. Here I was babysitting, and this was the little girl. Ainsley was her name. She looked like a doll. She was so cute. Here she is again, Ainsley. So I was trying to draw her. She sat so still. She was watching Fern Gully, and she was just the cutest little thing. Oh, she was adorable, little Ainsley. And here was Marlon Brando. I was on a Marlon Brando fix in high school. I loved Marlon Brando, especially Streetcar Named Desire. That was one of my absolute favorites. I was pretty happy with how this came out. I guess you can kind of tell without the giant name over there that it's Marlon Brando. But as you can see here, my skill is improving as I go on because of practice and just continuing to work every day in the sketchbook. I had no choice. And this was by Sheila, and this was done in oils, but I did it in watercolors. It was very quick, but I was still okay with how it turned out. I didn't mind that it didn't look like the original. It was just an experiment anyway. So, you know, that's the main point. You're learning. And then here's some, you know, ideas for geisha stuff, and then people, again, drawing random doodles, things out of my head. Marlon Brando. We went to go to the Asian Art Museum to see geishas. Well, there were some of them anyway. And, oh no, I didn't go. I wanted to go. I got this in the mail. And I think I actually missed it. But we did go to another art museum, and then they had some geishas in their display. But here again, just more doodles. Again, as you can see, these were completely unrefined and fast, but they were just ideas, and I was just throwing them down on paper. Every time you see a shadow over here, it's because I'm getting up to check the clock, because my phone's going to kick out at the half-hour mark. Here, again, are some ideas for my concentration. I actually ended up using this one as an idea for a painting for my sister, which ended up being a wedding gift for her at the time. And it turned out really well. I did an oil painting. I was very proud of it, and she still has it. And again, some Marlon Brando, and then here was my trying to recreate it very quickly and sketchily. Here was my research on Gustav Klimt, who is my favorite artist of all time. Absolutely love Gustav Klimt. Love, love, love. And then just doodles and stuff again. Marlon Brando pops up, and then things out of my head. And then I would always make commentaries about how I felt that day. This is how I feel right now. So a chopped off head. Yeah. And then here, when Thompson's away, his monsters come out to play. And then Mr. Thompson wrote, really, that's not good. But anyway, so we loved our art class. It was a lot of fun. And then here I went to the beach, and I tried to draw some people at the beach. But again, at the beach, people rarely sit still unless they're suntanning. So it was hard to catch anyone. This was a self-portrait. I took this with my camera, and I tried to recreate it with stippling. If you look very closely, which you probably can't see, there's some, what is it? What is that stuff that you clear out stuff with? Anyway, to cover it up. I can't think of the word right now. What's wrong with me? But anyway, I was trying to fix it. And my head is obviously misshapen and everything. It's not anything like the original. But it was still good practice, so. And more doodles. I got lots of A's because I was filling pages. Not necessarily because it was the world's most brilliant work, but because I was filling pages. And yeah, as you can see, most of it, when it's out of my head, it's nonsense. Here's trying to draw, but she was completely distorted because she was on an angle from me. My desk was facing downwards at her. So I hadn't learned how to draw from perspective. This was in a book from Micah. And I decided I wanted to recreate it. They had sent me a booklet in the mail because I had said that I was interested in art school. And here, I hate watercolors. This is hysterical because nowadays this is the medium I work in the most. But at the time I really hated it, especially landscapes. I couldn't paint a landscape to save my life. This is terrible. It's absolutely terrible. I hate it in every way. But that's because I had no patience for it, and I just didn't really care at the time. And my art teacher just said to me, you know, you need patience and you need to keep trying. And he was right. I had to keep trying, and eventually now I love it. And again, here is another one which was slightly better, but I didn't like it. And I was in a class with other AP students that were really, really good, so it was very discouraging seeing theirs versus mine, which is a big mistake. Never compare yourself. Never compare. And then here's some doodles. Again, I hate watercolor, which I find so funny now, looking back. But that's life, isn't it? And then here's some things. This is another teacher that I had in high school, and I gave it away, Dr. Chris. I didn't dislike him. I actually liked him. I liked his class a lot, so I just drew him just because we were there, and, you know, my other classmates thought it was funny. This is Ville from him, my favorite band. And then I would write down goals and stuff that I wanted to do. And here's another watercolor. I never stopped trying, even though I hated it, because I realized the only way to learn is to keep going. So I kept going. This was another posture study of a figure. It was getting better, and I was starting to like it. This was terrible. Didn't really care. This was from my friend Alicia again. She made me a birthday card, which was really sweet. And here again, just more doodles. And again, here I'm ranting at my teacher, and then he's responding to me. But he did push us a lot because he wanted us to do well, and I really appreciated that in the end. At the beginning, I thought, oh my God, this guy's just riding our asses for no reason. But now I appreciate it. And here again, another terrible watercolor, but practice, 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 practice. And let me check the time. We're getting close. Is everything even in screen here? I'm wondering how much of this has actually been clipped off. There we go. This is my study on Royo, the painter. I love this piece. I wanted to recreate it, but I didn't. I don't think I did anyway. And then here are other doodles, some observations of people, Kendra Langang, who was in my class, girl in second period, and just random things. So this is the family I babysat's dog, Katie. She was so cute. This is Jane Eyre from the book I had. I was very happy about these drawings. This is a girl in second period again, the one that had posed for me before, and Brock Billings. So those two came out really well. I was very happy with this one in pen. And this one, it was Ji Yi Zhang, or was it Zhang Ji? I'm not sure. And I said her eye on the right is too big, but my art teacher said maybe the left one is too small. And just again, practice, practice, practice. This one I was very happy with, as I obviously made it clear there. This is my friend Beatrice in class, and she sat nice and still for me. She didn't like how it turned out because I made it very realistic, but I was very, very happy with how it turned out, and I realized that I'm better drawing from life than from pictures. And then here's another study of Royo. And Mr. Thompson always used to draw himself as a caricature like that, which I thought was really funny. And then he would make comments about what I would say about things. Here I was talking about plein air painting and stuff like that. And then we went to LACMA. So LACMA is Los Angeles, something of art, Museum of Art. Don't ask me. Anyway, we went to go see Renoir to Matisse, and they also had some Degas, so I bought postcards. And then I wrote here, because this was not with the art class that I went. This was with my honors class, which was humanities honors. And we had to go to this art museum as part of our humanities class, which was thought was so cool. And so I picked up some postcards of my favorite things, and then Mr. Thompson was very happy that I wrote about my experiences there, which are, sorry, still checking, just as important as doing actual artwork is experiencing the artwork of others. And here again is the LACMA, big old thing, you know, talking about different stuff like that. I think this was a fold out like this. So there you go. So that was, these are the main attractions that they had on show at the time. Obviously they changed them out. And then I just kept talking. And then back to my concentrations for my AP Art, geishas, and some ideas that I found, inspiration for things. And then here I actually started to develop my ideas, poses and stuff of what they would be doing. There was my pregnant geisha, which I actually did turn into a painting. The smoking geisha, the drinking geisha, everything that they're not technically supposed to be doing, I wanted to do them. So it's like the taboo geisha, almost. And here again was a quote from a song. I think this is from Chevelle. And Mr. Thompson had no idea what was going on, because here I'm talking about my process and suddenly a quote. But that's what I always used to do. And then this is Georges de la Tour. And it was one of my favorite pieces in the museum. Again, I think we also saw this at LACMA. Or was it? I'm not sure. I don't remember. Anyway, we saw this in one of the museums. And I loved her. I thought she was so beautiful. I ended up doing a piece about her later. I don't know if it's in this sketchbook or another one. But anyway, I did a recreation of my own. So beautiful. You have to see this painting in real life. It's so amazing. And here is my version of that. Here I emphasize her stomach because there you cannot really tell she's pregnant, but this is supposed to be Mary Magdalene, pregnant with Jesus. So I decided to emphasize it here. Here's Ian MacArthur. He was in my class. That was my friend Janet, but you can't tell. That's supposed to be her hair flowing over the shoulder. And as you can tell, the more inspiration I had from outside sources, the better my stuff became. So here is a lot of stuff for geishas, lots of geishas, you know, ideas and stuff like that. So I could work off the colors, the shape of their kimonos, and so on and so forth. And getting ideas of what the hair looked like from different angles, so I could paint it later. It was a lot of research on the geisha. Here, actually, don't mind, there's this weird discoloration, but that's because of the rubber cement on the back here. It made the colors bleed. This is a photograph of the painting that I did for my sister of the geisha thing that I showed you earlier. So I made it look like she's working in a boudoir mirror and doing her makeup. My sister loved it. She absolutely loves it. And then here was something, obviously National Geographic. I thought that was cool. I would use that at some point for inspiration. This one I probably should have covered. As you can see, it's been smudging from both sides. I probably should put a paper in here in between or something. I thought I had a paper in here, but maybe it fell out at some point. These are just doodles, so I didn't really care about them, but I did like this one. This was Catherine Lee's. And I used oil pastel on this one. And I liked how it turned out, even though her one eye's crooked. I still thought it was cool. I was happy with that. And here again, testing watercolors, still not quitting, and then Mr. Thompson was happy because I hadn't quit. And then I used China markers to draw these inspirations from Klimt, and Thompson wanted to get a set of those. This one I'm very happy with. This was actually a recreation of Edouard Manet called Argenteuil. I think I'm saying that right. My French is non-existent. But anyway, I first drew it in China markers and then I painted it with watercolors. And I was very happy with the end result. It's very sketchy and I like that. This one, I actually covered this in laminating paper so that she wouldn't smudge. This was Judith II Salome from Gustav Klimt. This, I think, is my absolute most favorite painting of his. It's a much longer painting where she's actually holding a head in her hands by the hair, decapitated head. But I just decided to use this part because the facial expression and these colors and everything were so rich that I had to just use this. You might hear my cats in a minute. One of them was just meowing. I don't know where he is. He might be in the bedroom, but they might come out here and investigate in a minute. These were more Royo pieces. They came out very pixelated, but it didn't really matter because I was just after the gist of their figures and colors. And I was very happy with that. I tried to recreate that one. So there. And these were then pieces of Avril Lavigne. I was listening to her CD. And then I was looking at her CD cover, whatever, the booklet inside the CD, trying to draw her. So that's where that came from. This page I really like. This is one of my favorite pages in the whole sketchbook. This is supposed to be my sister, but it doesn't look anything like her. This is my old cat Manny. He's also the cat that's here in my tattoo. I loved him. He sadly passed away, but Manny was my cat all throughout, you know, junior high and high school, or just high school. Just high school, yeah. I had a dog in junior high. But he was my sweet boy. He used to like sleeping in sinks and stuff. So I would doodle him. And here he was sleeping and I just doodled him quickly. It's my friend Vanessa, other friend Jessica again, my dad, some dude at Borders. I tried to do my dad, but he looked Asian. I don't know why. Me. This thing is supposed to be my sister. Yeah, it says my sister. So I just liked how these came out. They were very sketchy with just a normal writing pen. yeah, and then here we go again with me. So we were supposed to do a self-portrait, and obviously I was a teenager, acne galore, wasn't happy with any of it. And I was one of those ones that didn't use makeup. First of all, because I was on swim team, so there was no point in putting makeup on in the morning and then having to take it off right before you swim and then putting it back on afterwards, so I just didn't care. I really wasn't that interested. So I decided to go with this one, even though it doesn't show my face. Don't ask me why, and it doesn't even look like me, but it's there. More stippling, because I was in love with stippling at this point. These were from Chevelle. This is Pete Loeffler. Again, Pete. That was the first attempt. It didn't look anything like him. These were cassette paintings that I tried to recreate. This was me, but it doesn't look like me, and my friend Brittany. At least it looks like her somewhat. Smoking Geisha Idea. Another Geisha Idea where she has piercings, which they're not supposed to have. Broccoli, Brock Billings. Beatrice and other people in my class again in these sketches. Another Geisha Idea. Lord of the Rings, Legolas. So anything that was influencing me at the time somehow ends up in here. This is again China markers. This was, I think, my mom's cousin I was trying to draw from a picture. It didn't turn out well. Chalk pastel. Again here, proportions were wrong. The child is basically larger than the mom and everything else. It didn't work out. Then more in-class drawings. At this time, my grandma was sick, and so there was lots of grim notes in here because we knew that she wasn't going to last very long. And so yeah, there were some very sad things going on in here as well. But this was my friend Nate. This was my senior year, I believe. I think this was, yeah, it had to be senior year. And he was in one of my art classes with me, and I used to just doodle him when I had nothing else to draw. This was from Hamlet. I think it was from the playbook. And then these were from we had the figure sketchbook that I told you, or not sketchbook, reference book that you could pick from. And so I took some from there and was using charcoal pencils again. I think this was supposed to be Beatrice again. Yes, it is Beatrice. And then just more writing and comments. And then this one I never ended up finishing. There's that and that left that was supposed to be stippled in, but I didn't. And mainly because I was just... This was the time period when my grandma was sick and I just wasn't a happy clam. So lots of things were left unfinished. More ideas for geishas. Still working on the concentration. Also doodling in between. And things like that. More art studies. Vincent van Gogh, of course, because I loved his use of color. Charcoal pencil again, regular pencil. This is quite a thick sketchbook, as you can see. This was a proper art sketchbook we were told to get for this art class. So more doodles and things, just lots of the same. My mom does not like nudity, so that's why there's this thing saying more boobs. So obviously when you have to draw figures, if they're nude figures, you have to draw their body parts, and my mom never liked that, but I still had to draw them. So these were things that I had done myself, and these were me discussing it. So this was one of the ones with the geisha ones. She has her piercings, but you can barely tell, and this was from one of the references I had. This was something that I did using only a palette knife and oil paint. These are both in oil. And my friend Heather actually has this one now. She liked it so much she decided to keep it, so I let her have it. This is from my other sketchbook. And there's lots of nudity in there, which is why there are these things on there from my art teacher trying to do a courtesy shield for my mom. This is another art piece. This is an oil painting, which I never finished, which is still in storage somewhere, which I really should finish because I didn't dislike it. And then just more stuff, you know, more doodles, more geisha stuff, trying to figure out, you know, how to write certain things so I can put them within my final pieces. More geisha things. I like this one a lot. I like the texture. This was done, I think, in acrylics by somebody else. There's me again. This one actually wasn't too far off. This was done using makeup, and there's laminating paper over it so that it doesn't smudge. But this was done using like eyeshadow and lipstick and lip liner, so on and so forth. So it was a geisha, and that was done with the mascara. This one I liked a lot, and so did Mr. Thompson, and so we thought we might recreate this one later for my final portfolio. Just a doodle, another doodle, things that I would stick in that I had done. This was another self-portrait. Mr. Thompson also liked it. Doodles. Watercolor doodle of Hunchback Geisha. This one actually didn't turn out too bad either. I was very happy with this one as well. And just more ideas for my final. As you can tell, I'm trying not to make this video too horrendously long. Still checking the time. And this was done in oil pastels again. This was another reference. I don't even know if I have it in here. At least not right now, but it will show up, I think, at some point. This was inspired by another piece. Again, here we have some Degas. More Degas. This one I tried to recreate that one from Degas. This one was also a recreation from another Degas piece. These came from a magazine. Again, people within my class I was trying to draw quickly, roughly, terribly. Degas research. This was just an idea I had. I think it came from a dream. I never expanded on it. It was just a quick thing. More stippling. Another geisha idea. Gothic style geisha. This is done in acrylic paint. More Degas, I believe. Yes, these are Degas. Saw him at the museum as well, so I got the postcards. This is a Norton Simon. That was the other one we went to. So we went to Lockman, we went to Norton Simon with my honors class. And here we saw the Degas. And Degas is another one of my absolute all-time favorites. So I bought a sticker book and I stuck those in here along with the Norton Simon stuff. And then here were my observations. And again, just doodles and talking. This was me times 2. I used a camera and took a photo of myself, and then I made it look like I'm eating myself. I don't know why, just because. There's Mr. Thompson from behind. And this was another idea of a transvestite geisha shaving, which I eventually tried to use later. Now these ones, I really like these drawings. That's Darren Hayes, and that's Daniel Jones from Savage Garden. That was one of my all-time favorite bands. I was so disappointed when they broke up, but I still love Darren Hayes' music. This one was just a doodle, and I loved how it turned out. I don't know where it came from, but I loved it. And then some more just doodles and ideas, weird things that were floating in my head. Observations of people. Transvestite geisha, sketchy idea, again, that I expand on later. Avril Lavigne again. This was from, gosh, I think it was also from that same book of models that you could use as reference. Darren Hayes, but it doesn't look like him, unfortunately. And some pencil sketches. A baby I saw in, I think it was a magazine. Or it was, where was I? Anyway, there were little kids everywhere in the magazine. I think it was an article about kids. This one I actually expanded into a proper painting where I used green gouache in the background, and I did this, these like hatches on top, and then I did the baby in ink, I think. Or did I do it in chalk pastel? I don't remember. Anyway, my parents have that at their house now. And here are friends from high school, things like that, so try to redraw them. And me! This was a cassette. That was my version of it. This was a character I was trying to come up with. This was from, help me out here, James and the Giant Peach, I think. And then here were just other drawing ideas, just sketching, having fun. Same thing here, just more sketches. This was me when I was little. There were pictures of me when I was a kid, so you can see that there's bleed through from the other page. But anyway, pencil sketches of me. and then just other doodles. This was from Degas, and I tried to recreate it twice. So first in black markers, and then in watercolors. Both of them turned out okay. I wasn't too upset with them. And another one from Degas, which is again in watercolors. This was supposed to be a view from my car in the parking lot at high school. Because I was waiting for my classes to start, so I was just deciding that I'll fill a page and doodle. And that was good enough. Here were some other ideas. I liked how this one came out. I wanted to turn this into a painting, but I never did. Even this was kind of creepy cool. I like how it turned out, but I never did anything further with it. This was gouache. Was it gouache? Yes, this was gouache. It was weird, but I liked it. The reference came from, again, from the model book. And I just did my own twist on it, made her very angular and stuff like that. Not sure where this came from. I think I hated the drawing that was underneath, so I did something else on top just to cover it up. This was my friend. She was posing for me. I was trying to get positions right and practicing again with watercolors. Practice, practice, practice. And random doodles and more commentary. Lots of commentary. My grandma, supposed to be. I didn't have a reference. This was just from memory. More doodles. This was in my car. It was a little dangly thingy, so I drew that when I was waiting in my car one morning. Just random ideas, again, as we're nearing the end of the page. Again, Avril Lavigne. I don't know. This was from a magazine, I think. That was my cat Manny. Avril Lavigne again. I think that was also, and that one. And then other ideas. Now this is a chalk observation of my other statue that I had in the house. That I had painted in one of those color me mine type of deals. And I called her Mary. My parents still have her. So that was a quick sketch of her, an observation of Mary. We had an art fair exhibition at our high school. This is my friend Alicia's piece, and this is from the photography class. This was from the ceramics class, and this was another friend of mine, Mike, who did this painting in oil. And then here is this is the one from Gustav Klimt that I painted, but I only painted up to here. This actually became my ceiling panel in the class. And then here are just some random watercolors with the China markers. And more doodles. As you can see, it was never ever like perfect because it's just a sketchbook. Most of the time these were just the diving board for bigger ideas later. This one, you can tell how I was feeling. People are dogs. And more doodles, random things. I liked this one visual idea that I had about the pregnancy. This one I really liked how this came out. It was just a very quick sketch. I think this came from National Geographic, this picture, and I loved it. I loved how it turned out. This was obviously a disaster. Can't always have perfect pages. Here's my dad, and trying to recreate him. I eventually did a big painting of him, which they still have at their home. I think I used this one for that as reference. And there's my dad again. This was white chalk pencil on black paper. And then these were just references for, I don't know what for. But anyway, just ideas. National Geographic came up. Again, lots of National Geographic. I think most of these came from National Geographic in some way, shape, or form. Again, National Geographic, not sure where that comes from. National Geographic, National Geographic. So, when I ran out of things to draw, I just went to National Geographic. Let me check how I'm doing. Still good on time, okay. Yeah. Alright, and yeah, lots of National Geographic. I like the sketchy feeling behind these. These also came from National Geographic. I love fruit bats. I think they're so cute, and I tried to draw some. National Geographic, National Geographic, National Geographic. No, this is from the Siddhartha book. We had to read that in my honors class. And then me. Again, I did poses and I tried to recreate them. This was with charcoal. I didn't like it. This one I liked. I don't remember what I used for this though. It was definitely some kind of chalk pastel again. But it turned out okay, I like that. And then again, references from National Geographic. Lots and lots of National Geographic. And then babies. I love babies. Chubby little babies. and then random doodles, basically here towards the end. And this was the last page of my sketchbook, and then my favorite song at the time was this one, Let Go by Frou Frou. And this was the first of the 2 sketchbooks completed. The other one is still not complete, so I'm not going to show you that one, but this gives you a nice idea of how it actually is. Sketchbooks are not perfect, so, you know, seeing other people's very perfect sketches and stuff can be a little bit misleading. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it gave you some inspiration, encouragement that you don't have to be perfect. And all I can say from there is keep on sketching, guys, keep going. Alright, have a great week, and thanks for watching.